Welcome learners, I am Dr. Seema Desai Fernandez, Assistant Professor in Botany from St. Xavier's College, Mapsa, Goa. In this module, I will be discussing about the life cycle of the Polysiphonia. This is the outline of my module wherein I am going to cover reproduction in Polysiphonia, types, vegetative, sexual and asexual, and the life cycle of Polysiphonia. At the end of this module, the learners will be able to differentiate between the three different phases of plants, describes the methods of reproduction in Polysiphonia, explains the terms carpogonium, tetrasporangium and haplodiplobiontic, and illustrates the life cycle of Polysiphonia. Polysiphonia is a red algae and it belongs to Rhodophyta division. Polysiphonia is heterotelic and there are three types of plants. One is a haploid gametophyte phase and two diploid carposporophyte and tetrasporophyte plants. The sex organs are borne on the small branches called as the trichoblast. This is the picture of the red algae Polysiphonia. It looks red because of the red pigment. This is the reproduction types of the Polysiphonia: vegetative reproduction, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. In vegetative reproduction, it takes place through fragmentation of the thallus. In sexual reproduction takes place through oogamous type and it includes three phases. And asexual reproduction is by tetraspores which are haploid. The life cycle of Polysiphonia is completed in three phases. The haploid is the first phase, which is gametophytic phase, and the diploid, which is the sporophytic phase, and there are two types: carposporophytic second phase and tetrasporophytic is the third phase. The gametophytic plant, which is haploid, is free living, independent, dioecious, and it has a separate male and the female plant. The male plant bear antheridia and produce male gamete spermatium, and female plant bear carpogonium which contains the eggs. Carposporophytic plant, which is diploid, is dependent on the female plant and it produces diploid carpospores. This diploid carpospores gives rise to the tetrasporophytic diploid plant, which is independent free living plant and produces tetraspores. Let us see the life cycle of the Polysiphonia in the diagrammatic form. The life cycle of the Polysiphonia is called as triphasic haplodiplobiontic. Why it is called as triphasic? Because it includes three different phases, that is the haploid gametophyte and the diploid tetrasporophyte and carposporophyte. Because of this, it is called as triphasic life cycle. It is called as haplodiplobiontic because there is only one haploid phase, that is gametophyte, and two diploid phases, tetrasporophyte and carposporophyte. The word which is close to the biontic is diplo, means the diploid phase is dominant in the life cycle of Polysiphonia. In the step 1, the dioecious male plant forms male gamete spermatia. The male gamete produces spermatangel clusters which is diploid and bears the spermatia. The female gamete produces the carpogonium, which is the sex organ of the female gamete. This carpogonium bears the eggs and at the tip of the carpogonium there is trichogyne. The spermatia attaches to the trichogyne and travels through the neck and reaches the egg and fertilizes it and forms the diploid zygote. In this life cycle, there is a diversion. The diploid zygote does not form directly the carposporophyte. The carposporophyte, which is dependent on the female plant, shows a fruiting body. To magnify this, this is the picture wherein it shows the cystocarp is the fruiting body. Cystocarp is the fruiting body which bears the carposporangium, and this carposporangium contains the carpospores. These carpospores are diploid. The carpospores after the carpospores after maturity disperses and germinates into the diploid tetrasporophyte plant. This tetrasporophyte plant is an independent free living plant. The tetrasporophyte undergo meiosis and forms the tetraspores, which are haploid. This haploid tetraspore, half of them forms the male gametophyte, which is haploid and independent, and half of the tetraspores forms female gametophyte, which is haploid and independent. Here the life cycle ends. The life cycle of the Polysiphonia is also shows the isomorphic alternation of generation. What is isomorphic alteration of generation? It means that all three phases, that is the gametophytic phase, which is haploid, and the diploid phases, tetrasporophyte and the carposporophyte, morphologically looks similar, and because of this it is called as isomorphic alternation of generation. This is all about the life cycle of Polysiphonia. This is the photographs of the Polysiphonia spermatangial filament, which bears spermatangia, and the carpogonial filament, which bears carpogonia. Summary: the life cycle of Polysiphonia is called as triphasic haplodiplobiontic. It completes in three phases, consists of haploid gametophytic phase and diploid two phases, carposporophytic and tetrasporophytic phase. The dioecious female and the male gametophytic plants forms male gamete spermatia and female gamete egg in carpogonia. When these two fuses, it forms the diploid zygote. Zygote germinates to form the carposporophyte, which is dependent on the female plant and produces the carpospore, which is diploid. Carpospores germinates forming tetrasporophyte, which forms the tetraspores, which are haploid. These tetraspores produces the independent gametophytic plant. These are my references. Thank you.